But there will be some showers in the west of Scotland and increasing cloud across much of western Scotland and Northern Ireland, West Wales and the far southwest by the end of the night. Frost-free here as temperatures rise through the night, but elsewhere a widespread frost, temperatures dipping as low as -6 Celsius in some sheltered spots. Now a chilly start for many central and eastern parts of Scotland first thing Wednesday, much milder to the west, although wetter here, with outbreaks of rain and a freshening breeze. We've got some heavy and persistent rain just moving into Northern Ireland at this stage in the morning. Wales and the southwest turning cloudy but mostly dry to kick things off, whilst the Midlands, the east and the southeast of England see plenty of sunshine from the word go, albeit with the chilly start. And actually temperatures rising reasonably nicely in the southeast as we keep the sunshine into the afternoon along with light winds. A fresher breeze further west, winds really picking up across exposed western and northern coasts along with this band of rain, so a wet and breezy spell expected. That rain then eventually sweeps through on Thursday morning, and then it's a cloudy day on Thursday, and the one thing to note about Thursday's weather is it's going to be very mild. The winds coming from the southwest, lifting temperatures back up into the double figures widely and in some places the teens. A cooler spell once again returns this weekend, but with some unsettled weather.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can enjoy Christmas on us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight
On working people.
Working people.
Working people.
Working people. More money in the pockets of working people.
get ready for doomsday. I look ahead to Rachel Reeves's budget and...
deported more in the last year than they deported in the last 5 years. Please, I'm not going to take any lecture from the Honourable Gentleman.
David Lammy is scrapping jury trials and removing your automatic right to appeal. Plus... a man was crowned the world's strongest woman. And...
Send them back! Send them back! Send them back! Send them back! Send them back!
is the government stoking civil unrest? They're going to put more asylum seekers in Epping. Plus, huge victory today for Graham Linehan against the trans mafia. And... no more taxpayer-funded luxury cars for people with constipation or tennis elbow. On my panel tonight, we have got GB News contributor Will Kingston, the Tory MP for Tatton, Esther McVeigh, and political commentator Jonathan Liss, and it's big news for anyone who cares about dogs. Look at our little guy, look at our face. OK, get ready, Britain, here we go. I expose a big benefits racket next.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom just after 9 o'clock. Well, millions of workers are set to get a pay rise next year as the government confirms the minimum wage is going up. From April, the national living wage for over 21s will rise 4.1% to £12.71 an hour. That's worth around £900 a year for a full-time worker. The rate for 18 to 20-year-olds jumps 8.5% to £10.85, and 16 to 17s, along with apprentices, will go to £8 an hour. Rachel Reeves says the move properly rewards low-paid workers, but business groups warn higher wage costs will just hit prices and say they need support in tomorrow's budget. A leaked memo from Justice Secretary David Lammy has suggested the government's preparing to abolish jury trials for most criminal offences, keeping them only for murder, rape, manslaughter and matters of major public interest. The confidential document, marked sensitive and official, outlines the biggest shake-up of criminal justice in decades. It means judges, not juries, would decide around 3/4 of cases currently heard in Crown courts. Ministers say the changes are needed to tackle the 77,000 case backlog, but the plan would also expand magistrates' sentencing powers and create a new tier of judge-only courts. Breaking news on the situation with Ukraine and Russia tonight. Leaders of the so-called Coalition of the Willing, France, Germany and the UK, say they've agreed to accelerate joint planning on long-term security guarantees for Kyiv, working alongside the United States. In a joint statement earlier, they pledged to keep strengthening military and financial support as long, they say, as Russia refuses to engage in a just and a lasting peace. But Downing Street says Kyiv has not yet fully agreed to the US peace proposal, despite reports from America, with several points still unresolved. It comes as Donald Trump is set to send envoys to Moscow and Kyiv, saying he'll only meet President Zelensky and Putin once a deal is close to finalised. Here, Nigel Farage has issued a fresh statement insisting he categorically did not racially abuse fellow pupils during his time at Dulwich College. It comes just a day after an interview in which he left open the possibility he may have said things without intent as a teenager. Mr Farage says the claims, published by The Guardian and based on accounts from former classmates, are false, politically motivated and emerging only because now his party is rising in the polls.
I've done more in this country to defeat the BNP, to defeat the far right. I didn't even take the money from Elon Musk earlier this year because he wanted me to associate with Tommy Robinson. I have been the force in British politics fighting against racism and against extremism. And it's only when you get near the target of perhaps winning a general election that all this stuff comes out.
And as Rachel Reeves prepares to announce her budget on Wednesday, the Health Secretary has confirmed packaged milkshakes and bottled lattes will soon fall under the sugar tax. Wes Streeting told MPs the levy will now cover flavoured milks, milkshakes and even milk substitute drinks, putting an end to their long-standing exemption.
The levy has already led to fewer children in England having their teeth pulled out, and the amount of sugar consumed by children from soft drinks is down by half. We estimate that this next step will take the equivalent of around 4 million calories per day out of children's diets and will cut obesity by almost 15,000 people, preventing cancer, heart disease and stroke.
Well, companies have until January 2028 to cut sugar below 4.5 grams per 100 millilitres or face new charges. But plain milk is excluded and drinks made fresh in cafes won't be taxed. But business groups warn it still risks hitting a sector already under pressure. Those are the headlines for now. Now it's straight over to a man who certainly loves a milkshake. Yes, it's Patrick Christys.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
No more taxpayer-funded luxury cars for people with constipation or tennis elbow. Today, it was announced people who get a brand new sports car as part of the farcical Motability scheme will no longer be able to get the following vehicles: Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Lexus, Audi, Alfa Romeo. Good, OK? Good. Now, for people who don't know what the Motability scheme is, well, it lets people receiving enhanced personal independent payments lease brand new cars at a low price. The whole thing has become an absolute racket. Now, I want to make something very clear straight away. There are so many disabled people out there who need help, who need benefits and who need a car. And I'm not talking about you. But we have got a record 3.74 million people claiming PIP. Well, what does that mean? Well, of course, it means record numbers of Motability vehicles. The whole thing cost the taxpayer between 2 and 4 billion quid last year. People are getting swanky new cars that most hard-working people can't afford. For some of these conditions, look at this. Constipation, 20 people. Tennis elbow, 40 people. Failure to thrive. So what is that? What is that? 10 people. Alcohol and drug misuse, 990 people. Now, what could go wrong there? I don't know. I don't know. I'll tell you what, let's have a little look at that wino and that smackhead. Give them a car. Give them a car. 1 in 5 new cars on Britain's roads is a Motability vehicle. I mean, how do you explain that? Other than if loads of people who don't really need one are getting one. And it's a sweet deal for people on the take. It covers the car, the insurance, the breakdown cover and the maintenance. But it doesn't stop there. It'll also pay for your driving lessons. Drivers with a provisional licence who are so anxious that they need the taxpayer to give them money can get 40 hours of free driving lessons. That's roughly 1,200 quid. I mean, the person who the car is for doesn't actually have to be the registered driver. Now, some cases for obvious reasons, I understand that. But this is just wide open to abuse, isn't it? Now, people will say blocking them from getting a luxury sports car is cruel. Well, I say nobody has a human right to drive a Merc. And all of a sudden, when a Skoda is the only car on the menu, we're going to see a lot fewer rude boys claiming pips. The taxpayer can fund the vehicle they deal drugs out of every single evening. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. We have got GBNews contributor Will Kingston, Tory MP for Tatton, Esther McVeigh and political commentator Jonathan Liss. Esther, I'm going to come to you first as our resident politician here. Do you think this is a good thing to be banning people on the Motability scheme from getting brand new sports cars?
Well, yes, I agree that that should stop. I think that's wrong. However, I do think this is very much a bit of window dressing, because how do you get a Motability car? It's if you get the higher rate of mobility for the personal independence payment. Now, that isn't going down. The bill is going to remain the same. And in fact, those on the higher rate have doubled more or less from 2019 to now. So that isn't what you need to stop. And you've got Rachel Reeves now saying we're going to put £15 billion more into benefits. So there'll be loads of cars on the road. They might not be BMWs, there'll be every other ones, but we're still paying more. So this is a nonsense, this bit.
So actually, whilst if you do have severe constipation, which I'm not accusing you of, you won't be able to get a brand new Audi, you probably could still settle for a Fiat.
Well, you could accuse me of failing to thrive. I could be the 11th person to be on that list, but that's a separate conversation. Look, I don't think you're going to get any argument across this panel. I don't think Jonathan would argue that BMWs or Merc should be on this list. Famous last words. But we have to ask, is this ideology or incompetence? Has some Johnny Pencil pusher somewhere just not got this policy right? Or is there an ideology that goes across this government and across the Conservatives in the past government that says if you're on benefits, you should be able to live a comfortable life in the same way that people who work really hard can live? And my fear is that there are too many people in government who think that a pension or who think that government assistance basically means you should be able to live in the same way as someone who is working their backside off. And that's why you have people who are unemployed driving Mercedes.
What would you say to that, then? Do you think it's cruel that someone is now going to be deprived of Merc?
I don't think it's cruel. I think that you have to look at what this policy actually is, that it's allowed hundreds of thousands of people to get around, which is the whole point of a personal independence payments. It doesn't cost the taxpayer any extra if people buy a BMW compared to any other car, because it's they're just swapping that benefit for the car and they're paying the difference themselves. So if they're entitled to that benefit, there's no reason why they can't buy different cars. And also it's actually been great for the UK car industry, because it's allowed those car manufacturers to sell cars that otherwise wouldn't have been able to sell because people wouldn't have bought them.
We'll just have them buy British cars?
Well, that is what the government's doing. And, you know, I think that there are legitimate arguments to make about how the government can better support the UK car industry, and I think it's reasonable to say that there should be a focus on UK-made cars.
Your concern with this, I think, is the fact that we've still got too many people fraudulently
and we've got too many people on it. So what started as a good scheme, we get that. It started off to help people who had disabilities, had mobility issues, but now it has gone way too big. It has gone way too far. And the Motability scheme, I actually started a National Audit Office investigation into it because it was paying its CEO £1 million. It was sitting on £2.4 billion worth of assets. It gets a AAA rated money from government, £77 a week, higher rate is which why it pays for it. But now, because it has doubled in the last couple of years, predominantly since lockdown and since Labour got in, it's absolutely gone off the Richter chart. That is the problem. So we need to stop people getting this benefit, and you also need a thorough investigation into the Motability scheme, full stop.
But the root cause is this victimhood mentality that cuts across the whole pension program, which says that failure to thrive or mild constipation somehow means that you can't work. And that's just not the case.
No, because you get PIP whether you work or not. This is giving you an assistance to get around because you've got a disability. But yes, it needs to be cut.
I'm talking about a broader mentality that says the government should help you or give you money for the minest of inconvenience, when in the past, the government helped when you literally had no other recourse.
And
that is why this country is going
I think there are 20 people who receive this payment who have constipation, and I would almost guarantee that that is not the primary reason why they're receiving it.
Most of them are things like anxiety. Can I just say? I mean, there's thousands. And by the way, if you are signed on as a kid for a PIP payment with anxiety, you will then have your driving lessons essentially paid for by the Motability.
I think you'll find it's 1.8 million people who are on higher rate mobility, and the psychiatric disorders, which you're talking
Number
about,
one.
has actually shot up, particularly since 2019. That is wrong. That needs to be taken under control. But I'm afraid Rachel Reeves isn't going to do that because she's putting £15 billion more into
So we have
benefits.
a mental health crisis in this country, and I don't think the answer
They don't need
to
a
it.
car.
I don't think the answer to it is to reduce the benefits to people who have these chronic
So
mental
can I
health
ask-
issues.
Absolutely.
Because government after government says we need to invest more in mental health, and now we have
Do
this
you know
kind of
how to
argument
fill
coming the
in
other way. They're
do
saying
you
we
know
need
how-
less money
Do you know
for
how
it.
to fill in your PIP form? And actually what it asks you, it asks you whether you can plan a journey, and then the next bit is how mobile you are. And people have abused that. You can go online, you can find ways to fill it in, other people can help you. And that's what people are doing. They are running rings around the system, which needs to be
It's a tiny minority of people who might be playing the system. Look, in any system of welfare, you will have people who are being fraudulent, who are fraudulently claiming a benefit they're not entitled to. But I think it's an outlier. It's not anywhere near a majority
doubling
of
the
people.
number since 2019, that's more
There are a
than
lot of people who
couple
become sick
people.
as the
That's a
system
couple of
19.
people playing the system, isn't it?
Well, yeah, go on, Will.
I think we have misunderstood severe mental health conditions with just like difficulty in your life. That is the fundamental problem in this society at the moment, that we have a lack of resilience, which is now basically, because of a victim culture, called a mental health problem. And unfortunately, like, until that changes, we're just going to be spending more and more money for basically people having a tough
But
life.
Will, it costs the NHS so much money already because people do have chronic mental health issues, whether you agree with it or not, and that is costing us so much money as a country. And actually, if you do help people in any way that we can,
Most of the time this is
that's actually going to be more
self-diagnosed
productive
over the
for society
phone.
in the long run.
You don't even need to actually see a doctor or a psychiatrist before they give you this benefit.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the most on-the-nose examples of the breakdown, I would argue, of the social contract in Britain. As you've rightly said now a couple of times, Esther, it looks as though the welfare state is going to be boosted by an extra 15 billion quid that we haven't got tomorrow, so we look forward to that, don't we? But people out there, now, people say to me all the time, so my mates were saying this to me, you know, they've worked their backsides off, they've managed to get themselves like a 2 up, 2 down somewhere probably near you, somewhere around the Cheshire area or whatever, you know, they're not living in lavish luxury, they are scrimping and saving to get themselves a car. And all of a sudden, there's a couple of people who they know don't really seem to work, who live down the end of their road, and all of a sudden, there's a brand new BMW on their driveway.
Yeah.
We're paying for that.
And this is the unfairness that people are saying, well, what is the point of me working however many hours a day, getting up early in the morning, when I don't need to, because next door, they look like they're having a better lifestyle. By the way, they can change this car every 3 years. Anybody else would be keeping their car for a lot longer. It's also now the biggest in second-hand cars. So actually, there's a bit of a scam going in the whole motor industry, who are very happy to have these mobility cars going into the second-hand car market.
But once
as well.
again, it's not taxpayers who are paying for these cars.
Of course, because they're paying for the benefits.
People are getting the benefits anyway. What they
No, but
if
they
they
shouldn't
exchange
be.
it for a car with their own money, that's
But they
their
should-
money,
but
not
they
ours.
shouldn't be, and it's enticing people to say that I need a car when they don't need to. It shouldn't have doubled since
Esther,
2019.
the idea that people can live a life of Riley on benefits is a myth that has been debunked time and time again for decades.
No, I
It's
don't
still
think
a
you
myth.
understand this benefit. You get this benefit whether you're in work or not, so you get it extra on top.
Do you think that people are living the life of Riley on benefits?
No, but in many cases people can live just as easily on benefits as people working hard actually on, working in a job. This is symbolic of a broader problem, that you can live just as easily on benefits as many people on the minimum wage. That is not right.
All right, OK. Well, look, lively start there. We have got a lot more coming your way, including... I'm going to play you a clip later on that I think will be, by far and away, the most ludicrous thing that you've seen today, and that really is saying something. But before that, I can get going without telling you how you could enter our Christmas Great British giveaway. All on us this Christmas, 40 grand in tax-free cash, come in handy after tomorrow, won't it? And £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket, and a GB News Christmas goodie bag. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
There's just 30 days until Christmas, and it's the final week to see how you can enjoy it on us. That's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 fantastic. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family, the tree and decorations. £1,000 in vouchers to buy a slap-up Christmas lunch at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. Plus, we're going to get it all to you in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Jury trials are going to be scrapped, and apparently you will have no right to appeal. Is this a victory for left-wing judges? And well, I'm going to say it just in case you couldn't tell. The world's strongest woman, well, it was crowned a man. So there you go. I thought we were over with this stuff, but no, I've got that and much more where it came from as well. Next.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's economy is at a crossroads.
And this budget day, every decision counts.
From taxes and rent to the cost of living.
Whatever the outcome, the GB News family will be there.
With expert analysis breaking down what it means for you.
Budget day all day tomorrow.
Only here on the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Shortly, David Lammy is accused of launching the biggest attack on our civil liberties ever. But get ready for the most ridiculous thing you'll see all day. It's time for the head-to-head. A huge man won the World's Strongest Woman competition. That's right. The world's strongest woman is a massive bloke, and he's called Jamie Booker. He won the title in Austin, Texas, but just look at the reaction of the actual woman who came second. don't blame her. I mean, this keeps happening. A man called Laurel Hubbard competed at the Olympic weightlifting for New Zealand, and Iman Khalif won gold at the women's Olympic boxing after being accused of being a man and refusing to do a gender eligibility test. Obviously, they've always denied that they are in fact a bloke. And we've had the ridiculous spectacle of two blokes competing in the final of a women's pool competition. But breaking news tonight, sanity has prevailed, and Jamie Booker has been stripped of the title as world's strongest woman in the last hour or so after, well, it turns out that she failed to tell the competition bosses that, well, it's actually a he. So there you go. So in light of all of this, should every single trans woman be banned from every women's sports competition? I'm joined now by the Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters, Fiona McInerney, and Trans Rights campaigner, Paul Levine. Thank you very much, both of you. Fiona, I will start with you. Should we ban every single trans woman from women's competitions?
Well, we should ban every single man from a women's competition. And sport is played by bodies and not by identities, so people can call themselves what they like. But when a sport decides it needs a protected female category, then that's what it has to be. There can be no special arrangements for people who feel like something different. You know, you can't identify into a lighter weight class in boxing or in weightlifting, and you shouldn't be able to identify into the female category if you have a male body.
Paul, your views?
Yep, thank you for inviting me. Well, you're correct. You cannot identify into a lower weight in boxing. What you can do is you can qualify for it, and that's the whole point. My position is that is it right that trans women should compete in women's sport if they compete unfairly and unsafely? No, they shouldn't. But if they can compete fairly and safely, then yes, there is no reason why they can't.
Fiona, is it not?
Well, the reason why they can't. The reason why they can't is that they cannot compete fairly and safely. You know, we decide who's eligible for each category before the competition. You don't wait till afterwards and say, oh, that was fair because that person didn't win. You have to decide at the beginning. And the sports councils in this country have already reported on this. They've done the science and they've said there is no way to remove male advantage, and therefore it cannot be fair to let someone male into a female category.
Well, if I can say, there are studies that are showing the opposite results, but the question is not, the question I would ask you, it's just a hypothetical question. If it is proven that they can compete fairly and safely, then can they compete?
But they're always taking the place of someone, Paul, though, aren't they? Sorry, that's the other aspect of it. They'll always be taking the place of a woman who could have competed. That's always going to be unfair. I mean, by the way, we're looking at things on the screen now. That's from Jamie Booker's Instagram. You know, obviously, you know, I would say that there's very few women in the world that are built like that, Paul, really.
Well, no, those that enter those competitions, they're in those competitions because they're built like that. But if I can just answer that point that you made, no, you're wrong, because there are trans men who are no longer competing in women's events. So it evens itself out. So someone may do better in a competition because there is a trans man who was higher ranked than them is no longer competing. So, and that's sport. You're up against who you're up against on any given team.
I don't know what that's all about. The bottom line is you enter a competition for which you're eligible, and sex is one of the most fundamental ways in which sport is organised, because male and female bodies are so different, and therefore women wouldn't have any opportunities in sport if we didn't have our own category. And so no, those places that we have earned, that we have fought for, are for women. They're for female bodies, and there's no basis on which a male body should be in there. Men should compete against other men, women against other women.
All right, Paul, can I ask you, as a bloke, you know what I say?
Yeah.
Are you not telling women what they should and shouldn't accept here? Is that not quite bad luck?
No, this is human rights and it's the law. I mean, that's what's going to tell them. The bottom line is that the Equality Act allows for exemptions, and if it's unfair and unsafe and there are legitimate reasons, then that's fair enough. The fact of the matter is that I was told that women's sport was being destroyed 10 years ago by all these places being taken, their world records were being shattered, they were losing all their medals, and that's just not happening in elite sport. In the Olympic Games, in the last 10 Olympic Games, there have been 80,000 competitors. Only one was an open trans woman, and you showed her earlier, that's Laura Hubbard. 1 out of 80,000 even qualified, and she came last. So it's not doing any damage to women's sport at elite
I'm sorry,
level.
but why would you think that a woman missing the chance to be in the Olympic final doesn't matter? That mattered a great deal to whoever lost her place, and your stats are all wrong because World Athletics admitted recently that there have been dozens, they thought perhaps 60, male athletes in elite women's athletics over the last 20 or so years.
Sorry, are you talking about trans athletes?
They don't belong.
Are you talking about trans? Sorry, are you talking about trans? No,
it doesn't matter.
It does.
It's the bodies that matter, not the identities.
This is about trans athletes. This is about trans
it's about
women.
Female athletes. It's about
what you're doing.
If competition.
One at a time, guys, please.
If you want to, if you want to destroy women's sport by ruining sport for a whole section of women, like those, for example, that have PCOS, they have a higher testosterone level. That's just something that happens naturally. You're using trans women to destroy other women's sporting opportunities.
Oh, so now you're arguing
their
for
opportunities
women,
will be
but
far
you're really
greater
not.
than.
You're really not advocating for women here, Paul. You're arguing for people who are male to be in women's sport, and I'm saying no. I'm saying only people who are female are allowed in women's sport.
Advocating for trans women, which is a tiny number, 0.5% of the population.
It doesn't matter how many there are. Most people never get to do elite sport. Women's sport is for the female
of trans
people.
men.
Go, sorry,
and 0.5% of trans men will no longer compete in women's sports.
Well, that's for them to decide, because if they take testosterone, then they're no longer eligible. That is true. But there should be no one in a women's competition. There should be no one in a women's competition who is not female. Women with polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, have slightly higher testosterone than normal, and they're overrepresented in sport for that reason. But they belong there because they're female. They do not have male levels of testosterone. So, they are obviously women, and they belong in women's sport.
Can I say? So they have a higher level of testosterone. I think they should compete 100%. Okay. They have a higher level of testosterone. They compete unfairly, yet trans women who reduce their testosterone level, that do remove all of their advantages, that cannot compete at the highest level, so therefore they can compete fairly.
Very quick final question. We're going to have to keep this brief, but I just want to know, Paul, if you identified as a woman, do you think you should be able to use Fiona's bathroom?
Depends on the circumstances.
Right,
if we're talking about
the circumstances is what's going on between your legs, really, Paul, isn't it?
If we're talking about a toilet and I am a trans woman, I have fully transitioned, like my daughter has, then yes. But if I'm talking about me looking like this, if you're talking about me, a man with a penis going into a female changing room, no. If they've had full surgery, yes. So again, it depends on, and that's what the Equality Act allows.
You see, the problem is we don't inspect people's genitals to find out who's male and who's female. We look at their face, their body shape.
So you just go about your normal life.
And that's why your idea that
what you're saying,
all right, guys, and ladies, we're going to have to.
The same as was used against gay people 50 years ago.
That's why it's not about surgery. It's about your sex.
Okay, all right, there we go. Right, gosh.
It's bigotry, then.
All right, okay, well, no one's trying to be a bigot. Right,
it's transphobia.
Okay. All right, it's not, again, it's not transphobia. Anyway, okay. Right, Director of Campaigns and Sex Matters, Fiona McInerney there, and Trans Rights campaigner, Paul Levine. Right, we just about got in there. So, before I tell you about what's coming up, this will take your mind off everything. This Christmas, we are putting on a really exciting event, and we want lots of you there too. On the 13th of December, which is a Saturday, you are invited to join the GB News family for our Carols by Candlelight concert. For your chance to be with us, you can apply for tickets by scanning the QR code on your screen right now, or by going to gbnews.com/carols. The concert will be recorded and broadcast on Christmas Eve. But first...
Deported more in the last year than they deported in the last 5 years. Please, I'm not going to take any lecture from the Honourable Gentleman.
Find out why David Lammy is accused of the biggest assault on our civil liberties ever. That's next.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, we've got some wet weather pushing through the Mediterranean this week. It should turn drier by the time we get to the weekend, however. In the Canary Islands, it's looking relatively dry, highs around 19 degrees. A little bit cooler towards Lisbon, 11 or 12 degrees. Now, here's that wet weather I mentioned. It's moving across parts of Italy, Slovenia, as well as Croatia and into Greece later on this week. But parts of Italy, as well as Croatia, should get drier by Friday or Saturday, with temperatures remaining a little below average. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's clear and frosty for many of us overnight, but turning increasingly cloudy from the west as a band of rain starts to slowly move in from the Atlantic. These Atlantic fronts eventually replacing the cold air that we've got in place, but not before a ridge of high pressure extends clear skies across many parts of the country. Even the showers in the east fade away overnight, but there will be some showers in the west of Scotland and increasing cloud across much of western Scotland and Northern Ireland, West Wales and the far southwest by the end of the night. Frost-free here as temperatures rise through the night, but elsewhere a widespread frost, temperatures dipping as low as -6 Celsius in some sheltered spots. Now, a chilly start for many central and eastern parts of Scotland first thing Wednesday. Much milder to the west, although wetter here with outbreaks of rain and a freshening breeze. We've got some heavy and persistent rain just moving into Northern Ireland at this stage in the morning. Wales and the southwest turning cloudy but mostly dry to kick things off, whilst the Midlands, the east and the southeast of England see plenty of sunshine from the word go, albeit with the chilly start. And actually temperatures rising reasonably nicely in the southeast as we keep the sunshine into the afternoon along with light winds. A fresher breeze further west, winds really picking up across exposed western and northern coasts along with this band of rain, so a wet and breezy spell expected. That rain then eventually sweeps through on Thursday morning, and then it's a cloudy day on Thursday, and the one thing to note about Thursday's weather is it's going to be very mild. The winds coming from the southwest, lifting temperatures back up into the double figures widely and in some places the teens. A cooler spell once again returns this weekend, but with some unsettled weather.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. David Lammy is set to scrap jury trials and remove your automatic right to appeal. Juries will only hear cases of murder, rape and manslaughter. Now, think about what this means practically. Take the case of Jamie Michael. Labour Party staff members reported him to police for a video he did about illegal immigration. He was charged, he went to court, a jury found him not guilty in just 17 minutes. But what if only the judge had heard that case? We hear a lot about left-wing activist judges, and now they may be given even more power. 75% of all cases will be heard by a single judge, so they can sentence you to anything up to 5 years, and you could lose your automatic right to appeal that decision. This is really sinister. And the head of the Criminal Bar Association said Lammy was about to, quote, destroy a criminal justice system that's been the pride of this country for centuries, and to destroy justice as we know it. Well, earlier on, I caught up with Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jemrett. Now by the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. So that's David Lammy's plan to clear the backlog. What would yours be then?
Well, look, firstly, David Lammy used to be a strong proponent of jury trials, and now he's in office, he's scrapping them, all bar the most, rarest cases, all for fixing an abject failure in the administration of the courts that's led to this massive backlog. There is a different way to handle this situation without getting rid of our most ancient liberties, a pillar of our constitution. Get the court sitting around the clock, as David Lammy himself used to advocate. And as it happens, the Lady Chief Justice, the most senior person in our judiciary, was actually in Parliament today telling MPs that there are more courts that could be sitting, there are more sitting days, and she's offered the government this solution. They've rejected it on cost ground, and instead of actually doing that, getting on with the hard yards of governing, David Lammy is ripping up this ancient part of our constitution.
We'll get on to how that could affect, frankly, all of us in a minute, but you're right to mention David Lammy's about turn on this, and we're going to bring this up on the screen. Jury trials are a fundamental part of our democratic settlement. Criminal trials without juries are a bad idea. The government needs to pull their finger out and acquire empty public buildings across the country to make sure these can happen in a way that is safe. Why do you think he's U-turned on this?
Well, it's not often that I agree with David Lammy, but I agree with the old David Lammy. He was absolutely right to say that when there's an administrative failure, you don't reach in the first instance for ripping up something that's existed for hundreds and hundreds of years in our country, that's a gift that we've given to the rest of the world. Instead, you actually do the hard yards. Get the court sitting round the clock. Today, there are actually dozens of courthouses across the country that are either not sitting at all or half of the courtrooms are empty. There is a better route for this, which is just to tackle the administrative failure of the system, not to rip up our ancient liberties.
So what are your main concerns then about the removal of juries for something like 75% or so of cases? How do you think that could realistically affect people? I know you've spoken a lot about biased judges or activist judges.
Well, look, I believe in people who are being charged with very serious offences being able to go before their peers and ultimately submitting themselves to the common sense of British men and women, as has happened for generations. I think the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, and now it seems David Lammy as well, ultimately believe that the rule of law means rule by lawyers and judges. And that is a fundamental difference of opinion. We in this country, for a very long time, arguably since Magna Carta, have believed that for many offences, the most serious crimes, you should be able to go before a group of your own peers and ask them to decide your guilt or otherwise.
He actually wants to go further than the recommendations. So as I understand it, the recommendations by Lord Leveson, I believe, were to have a judge and 2 magistrates for pretty much any case where the maximum could be 3 years in prison. He's now going for single judge, any case where you could be sent up to 5 years in prison. I mean, that just seems bizarre that he's gone beyond the recommendations, doesn't it?
Yeah, I find it very strange indeed. As you say, the senior judge, Lord Leveson, he made this recommendation. I didn't agree with him at the time, nor did many other people who wanted to defend jury trials. But it seemed like Leveson and Shabana Mahmood, the then Justice Secretary, wanted this more limited intervention, and Lammy has decided to go much further. So now it will be very rare that you'll get a jury trial. It's only for the most serious cases like murder or rape. And, as you say, you won't have this balancing by having magistrates alongside the judge. It will just be a judge. It's basically saying that judges know best, and that magistrates or jurors should be out of the picture altogether. Why is this? Well, I think it's because under Labour, the backlog that was already bad under the last government has just got much, much worse. And it's growing by 500 cases every month, and it's completely out of control. They don't know the solution. So to fix that, they're scrapping jury trials.
I think it's also going to bring into a sharper focus the potential political leanings of members of the judiciary, and there have been big questions over that. But there's another, I would argue, equally sinister aspect to this, which is the removal of the automatic right to appeal. So you can kind of see a scenario happening, can't you, where someone is charged with mean tweets, and they go there, and then a judge who has previously acted pro bono for some kind of refugees welcome charity decides that they do want to give them the maximum 5-year tariff in prison, and then you can't appeal that. I find that quite bizarre.
Yeah, again, a very strange decision, and one which cuts across basic freedoms in this country, that you stand trial, if you're found guilty, you've got a right to appeal that. And now that won't be the case for everyone, and that's something that we should all be concerned about, because if, God forbid, we're ever in this situation, you'd want to be able to be, firstly, in front of your peers in a jury, and then secondly, have the right to appeal that if you felt you needed to.
Look, David Lammy and co will probably make the point, won't they, that I think there was magistrate closures during the Conservative government, quite extensive magistrate closures during the Conservative government. So one of the reasons why he has to do this now, he would say, is because you guys basically eroded the capacity for justice in this country over the last 14 years.
Well, I don't pretend that everything was perfect under the last government. The main factor that led to this backlog in the courts was actually COVID, because during the pandemic, courts weren't able to sit. It was much more difficult then to bring back juries. Actually, there were people at the time saying scrap jury trials. The Conservative government said no, supported by David Lammy and many others, because we felt it was just too important to scrap, even if it led to a backlog in the courts. But it's just getting higher and higher. It's now 500 cases a month and growing more and more. The answer to this, though, is to get the court sitting around the clock. And as I say, the most senior people in the judiciary, like the Lady Chief Justice, are actually saying that there are courts, from our small local ones to the big ones like the Old Bailey, where there are courtrooms sat empty, there are judges, there are clerks, there are people ready to organise these trials. But instead of giving them the go-ahead, which costs a bit of money but is the right thing to do, instead we're going to scrap jury trials. I think it's a total disgrace.
All right, thank you very, very much. Robert Jemmy there, the Shadow Justice Secretary. Well, an MOJ spokesperson said no final decision has been taken by government. We have been clear that there is a crisis in the courts causing pain and anguish to victims, with 78,000 cases in the backlog and rising, which will require bold action to put it right. Also, judges maintain that they act impartially and in strict accordance with the established rules and standards governing their decisions. Coming up, I've got a GB News fan favourite on to talk about a fantastic victory over the trans mafia by a very, very well-known comedian. That's next. Oh, and as well, on Wednesday the 26th of November, that's tomorrow, yay, you can join me live in the studio for a budget special. If you want to be in my audience, you can go to sro.co.uk to get your ticket.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Today saw a huge victory for comedian Graham Linehan, a huge victory for common sense, and a huge victory against far-left pro-trans activism. The Father Ted co-creator was found not guilty of harassing trans activist Sophia Brooks on social media.
I'm very pleased by today's verdict. The judge found me and the women who gave evidence on my behalf to be credible, honest witnesses and said that my actions were not criminal and did not constitute harassment. The judge commented that the complainant, a well-known trans activist, was not truthful. There are a group of dangerous men who are determined to bully women and girls and to misuse the courts and police in furtherance of a misogynistic agenda. I'm proud to have stood up to them and I will continue to do so.
He's been hounded before, and in September he was arrested by armed police at Heathrow Airport after he tweeted, "If a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he's committing a violent abusive act, punch him in the balls." He later had all the charges dropped, but today a judge ruled that Linehan was a credible person who was frank and honest, and they didn't really believe that the trans activist was being truthful when they claimed that Linehan's post caused alarm and distress. He was, however, found guilty of criminal damage after smashing their phone.
Oh, there you are. Oh, see you tomorrow if you're around.
Why do you think it's acceptable to call teenagers domestic terrorists?
Oi! Oi!
He's appealing that verdict. So, was Graham Linehan persecuted for not believing that a man can be a woman? Joining me now is GB News contributor, comedian and writer, it's Andrew Doyle. Andrew, great to see you, firstly. Big victory.
Yes, it is a huge victory. I mean, you've got to contextualise this and remember that Graham has been hounded by trans activists for many, many years. And the reason for that is that he's been standing up for the rights of women and the rights of women to have single-sex spaces. And for that, he has been absolutely hounded. He's been kicked out of the comedy industry. This is a man who has won every award going and is considered one of the finest comedy writers in the UK, hasn't been able to work because he has an opinion that is shared, by the way, by the vast majority of the population. But he said it before other people had said it. And certainly when it comes to figures in the public eye, he was one of the earliest to be making this case. A lot of people are coming around to it at this point. But he has been hounded by these people. And worse than that, the activists have been weaponizing the police force and the judiciary. And what activists often do is they initiate vexatious complaints, or they try and provoke an individual as much as possible to get a reaction so that they can then proceed using the police and the courts in order to get a kind of revenge. It's the phrase, the process is the punishment. That's what it's all about. And the context of the damage to the phone there, as you saw, this was at the Battle of Ideas, which is a festival in Westminster run by the Academy of Ideas. And what you don't see in that clip that you showed was that that activist, Sophia Brooks, had been harassing and hounding women all day, shoving the phone into their faces, following them around obsessively. I mean, I'm surprised the security didn't kick him out, frankly. You can watch this footage online. It's freely available. And this had been going on all day. By the time he gets to Graham, he shoves the phone right in his face, starts bleating at him. I would ask anyone what they would do in that situation. I think if someone came up to me, a complete stranger, shoved a phone in my face, I think my reflex would be to grab it and chuck it away. I think that would be fair enough.
You alluded a little bit to the toll this has taken on Graham's life, but things like touching down at Heathrow Airport and being surrounded by armed police officers is a little bit ridiculous, just merely for stating biological fact.
Yeah, well, of course, nobody should have that treatment for tweets anyway. In that case, it was 3 completely innocuous tweets. And what had happened is trans activists had contacted the police, complained about it, said that they felt threatened, and the police just reacted in the way they always do, which is to go along with whatever the activists tell them to do, rather than exercise a little judgment and say, actually, clearly there's no crime here. Why should the police be involved? Because it's quite interesting, isn't it, that when trans activists send death threats and rape threats to women and feminist campaigners, the police normally just brush it aside and say, well, we won't bother doing anything about that.
You think there is a pro-trans bias within the police force, just in general?
It's not even that I think that. I think that's a matter of incontestable fact. I think all of the evidence points that way absolutely clearly. And part of the problem is, of course, the College of Policing, which is the body that trains police in England and Wales, has been beholden to LGBTQIA plus activism for many years. And it has been training its police to be activists. It is a captured quango that has no authority whatsoever. Bear in mind, this is the body that introduced the concept of non-crime hate incidents without any government mandate to do so. They just did it. The Home Office twice told the College of Policing to stop doing that. The High Court said it wasn't lawful, but still the College of Policing carried on. Because this is the point. Activist bodies don't care about the law. They care about what they think is right. So to say, yeah, absolutely, the College of Policing is biased towards these things and needs to be scrapped, frankly. And that's why you end up with Graham Linehan, great comedy writer, being arrested by armed police at the airport for a tweet.
Well, Andrew, look, always a pleasure to see you. Thank you very much. GB News contributor, comedian and writer Andrew Doyle. I will just say that the Royal College of Policing, etc., would obviously deny that there's some kind of institutional pro-trans bias and all of that stuff, so they act above board all the time, probably, wouldn't they? But anyway, coming up, get ready for Doomsday. I'm going to have a big look ahead to the nightmare before Christmas, Rachel Reeves budget. If you haven't fled Britain already, you might start to look at some flights in a second or two. I'm going to rattle through everything that she's going to do to make your life worse.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's clear and frosty for many of us overnight, but turning increasingly cloudy from the west as a band of rain starts to slowly move in from the Atlantic. These Atlantic fronts eventually replacing the cold air that we've got in place, but not before a ridge of high pressure extends clear skies across many parts of the country. Even the showers in the east fade away overnight, but there will be some showers in the west of Scotland and increasing cloud across much of western Scotland and Northern Ireland, West Wales and the far southwest by the end of the night. Frost-free here as temperatures rise through the night, but elsewhere a widespread frost, temperatures dipping as low as -6 Celsius in some sheltered spots. Now, a chilly start for many central and eastern parts of Scotland first thing Wednesday. Much milder to the west, although wetter here with outbreaks of rain and a freshening breeze. We've got some heavy and persistent rain just moving into Northern Ireland at this stage in the morning. Wales and the southwest turning cloudy but mostly dry to kick things off, whilst the Midlands, the east and the southeast of England see plenty of sunshine from the word go, albeit with the chilly start. And actually temperatures rising reasonably nicely in the southeast as we keep the sunshine into the afternoon along with light winds. A fresher breeze further west, winds really picking up across exposed western and northern coasts along with this band of rain, so a wet and breezy spell expected. That rain then eventually sweeps through on Thursday morning, and then it's a cloudy day on Thursday, and the one thing to note about Thursday's weather is it's going to be very mild. The winds coming from the southwest, lifting temperatures back up into the double figures widely and in some places the teens. A cooler spell once again returns this weekend, but with some unsettled weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can enjoy Christmas on us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Oh no. Okay, hello everybody. It's 10 p.m, I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight.
Working people.
Working people.
Working people.
Working people.
More money in the pockets of working people.
Get ready for Doomsday. I look ahead to Rachel Reeves' budget and...
Deported more in the last year than they deported in the last 5 years. Please, I'm not going to take any lecture from the Honourable Gentleman.
David Lammy scrapping jury trials and removing your automatic right to appeal. Plus... a man was crowned the world's strongest woman. And... is the government deliberately stoking civil unrest? They're going to put more asylum seekers in Epping. Plus, huge victory for Graham Linehan against the trans mafia and... no more taxpayer-funded luxury cars for people with constipation or tennis elbow. On my panel tonight, we've got GB News contributor Will Kingston, the Conservative MP for Tatton, Esther McVeigh, and political commentator Jonathan Liss. And, well, it's very big news for anyone who cares about dogs. Who's a good guy. OK, get ready, Britain. Here we go. Rachel Reeves is going to clobber you tomorrow. Next.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom, just coming up to 2 minutes past 10. Well, millions of workers will get a pay rise next year as the government confirms the minimum wage is going up. From April, the national living wage for over 21s will rise 4.1% to £12.71 an hour. That's worth around £900 a year for a full-time worker. The rate for 18 to 20-year-olds jumps 8.5% to £10.85, and 16 to 17s, along with apprentices, will go up to £8 an hour. Rachel Reeves says the move properly rewards low-paid workers, but business groups warn higher wage costs will hit prices and say they need support in tomorrow's budget. A leaked memo from the Justice Secretary David Lammy suggests the government's preparing to abolish jury trials for most criminal offences, keeping them only for murder, rape, manslaughter and matters of major public interest. The confidential document outlines the biggest shake-up of criminal justice in decades, meaning judges, not juries, would decide around 3/4 of cases. Ministers say the changes are needed to tackle nearly 80,000 cases in backlog, but the plan would also expand magistrate sentencing powers and create a new tier of judge-only courts. Donald Trump says he hopes to meet both Presidents Putin and Zelensky soon, but only once a peace deal is either finalised or in its final stages. Ukraine says it has reached a common understanding with the US after a weekend of talks in Geneva, fine-tuning a 28-point American proposal, though major disagreements reportedly remain with Moscow. Trump has now sent his special envoy to Moscow and the US Army Secretary to meet Ukrainian officials. The Kremlin says it still hasn't seen the revised draft of the agreement, warning changes could be unacceptable. And on a call with European allies, leaders of the so-called Coalition of the Willing agreed to accelerate joint work on long-term security guarantees for Ukraine, whilst warning there's still a long way to go before any ceasefire is in reach. Graham Linehan has been cleared today of harassment but found guilty of criminal damage over an incident involving a trans activist's phone. The court heard he deliberately whacked Sophia Brooks's phone from her hand outside a conference last October. Today, the judge ruled his online posts did not meet the threshold for harassment, but the damage to the phone did. Linehan, who denied both charges, spoke outside court earlier, saying he acted on reflex and argued he'd been targeted for his views on gender identity.
I'm very pleased by today's verdict. The judge found me and the women who gave evidence on my behalf to be credible, honest witnesses and said that my actions were not criminal and did not constitute harassment. The judge commented that the complainant, a well-known trans activist, was not truthful. There are a group of dangerous men who are determined to bully women and girls and to misuse the courts and police in furtherance of a misogynistic agenda. I'm proud to have stood up to them and I will continue to do so. I'm grateful to the Free Speech Union for their unwavering support and for helping to ensure that those who speak out against these dangerous activists are protected.
And Nigel Farage has now issued a fresh statement insisting he categorically did not racially abuse fellow pupils during his time at college. It comes a day after an interview in which he left open the possibility he may have said things without intent as a teenager. Mr Farage said the claims, published by The Guardian and based on accounts from former classmates, are false and emerging now only because his party is rising in the polls. He also argues he spent his career fighting extremism and rejects any suggestion of racist behaviour.
I've done more in this country to defeat the BNP, to defeat the far right. I didn't even take the money from Elon Musk earlier this year because he wanted me to associate with Tommy Robinson. I have been the force in British politics fighting against racism and against extremism. And it's only when you get near the target of perhaps winning a general election that all this stuff comes out.
That's the news on GB News. I'll be back with a full roundup at 11.
Tomorrow is Doomsday. Get ready for Rachel Reeves' Nightmare Before Christmas budget. The woman who exaggerated her CV, rented out her property without a landlord's licence and cried in the House of Commons is about to drive Britain's economy into the floor. Here's what is rumoured to happen. So she's potentially going to hike the welfare budget by 15 billion quid. This will include things like the free breakfast clubs for kids, just in case this woman needs a little bit of help.
Rushing, you forget if they've eaten, so it gives them a bit of stability.
You forget if you fed your own kid, do you? She's potentially going to scrap the 2-child benefit cap. Brilliant! People who can't afford to have kids can now have as many as they want at your expense. Some of them, no doubt, will be immigrants. There's potentially going to be a new mansion tax, which might actually include some people's flats and will miraculously not include Sir Keir Starmer or David Lammy's properties. Funny that, isn't it? You're probably going to end up paying more in council tax. She's set to freeze the income tax thresholds, which will hit millions of people, especially
Working people. Working people. Working people. Working people.
More money in the pockets of working people.
yes, working people. 790,000 basic rate taxpayers could be pushed into a higher tax bracket. Oh, and also, by the way, savings are bad now. She's going to stop your cash ISA allowance. Yes, that's right. Reduce it from 20,000 to 12,000. You can wave goodbye to your work salary sacrifice scheme. There's going to be a new tourism tax, which means that British people who want to go and visit a British city will have to pay an extra tax just to move around their own country. That's on top of everything Labour has already done. Ramping up VAT on private schools, a death tax on farmers, clobbering pensioners, hiking up employers' national insurance. 309,000 more people are unemployed since Labour came to power. And yesterday, the Office for Budget Responsibility downgraded growth forecasts for every year to 2030. And the Business Secretary admitted that people are fleeing Britain because of higher taxes. In their place, we just get loads more of these guys. Brilliant. Fantastic. Can't wait to see their tax returns. But, of course, if you think, based on all of this, that Rachel Reeves is a worryingly incompetent, idiotic chancellor with no grip on the real world, who could be making millions of people's lives infinitely worse, you're just a sexist pig. So under Labour, you're racist if you care about immigration, and you're sexist if you think Rachel Reeves is a dud. She's so desperate, she's now begging banks to praise her budget. Quotes, the UK Treasury has asked banks to make public and prominent endorsements of the budget this week. I mean, good grief. There is loads more to get stuck into, but we haven't got all day. I would just like to wish everybody the very best of luck ahead of Rachel Reeves' budget tomorrow. We are certainly going to need it. Thoughts on my panel now. We have got GBNews contributor Will Kingston, Tory MP for Tatton, Esther McVeigh, political commentator as well, Jonathan List. Right then, Esther, looking forward to the budget tomorrow?
Well, all I'll say, she's leaked so much to the press over so many weeks that when she comes to give a budget, she doesn't need to. We'll tell her what the budget is.
Yeah.
What a joke. It's shambolic.
What do you think, though, seriously? I mean, what do you think the mood is going to be like in Britain tomorrow after she's delivered it?
Well, she's softened us up, hasn't she, over weeks and weeks and weeks. And the reason I say it's shambolic, she's flown so many kites. Some she's kept, some she won't. The increase in the income rate she's not going to. But I think what people are thinking already, it really is a budget that is anti-aspiration, it is anti-success, it's even anti-having fun. It is sucking the life out of the country and sucking the fun out of the country. And I say this because you might think, oh, I'll do a couple of hours extra work. Well, you're not going to now because you could be taken into a higher tax bracket, so your extra work isn't going to mean anything, right? You might want to put an extension on your house, only you won't now, because if you go into a higher bracket for your house, you're going to actually lose tax there. In fact, there are now online ways to make your house worth less just so you don't have to pay a mansion tax on it. So put astroturf down, paint your walls this amount of colours. And when I say she also is going to stifle any fun, oh, if you want a sugary drink, you can't have it. If you want a vape, you can't have it. If you want a taxi home, you cannot have it. What a miserable socialist government has to be.
Why can't you have a taxi home?
No, there's a taxi tax going to come on.
Yeah,
they're going to tax.
Can I just say, this Labour government apparently thinks that children should be discouraged from drinking milkshakes, but it's all right to pump them full of puberty blockers. It's remarkable logic.
I don't think they want. I don't think they're trying to put puberty blockers into children. There's a clinical trial being announced. It's not going to be compulsory. They're not encouraging kids to have it.
I've just written to them to say it's a disgrace.
Yeah.
I just want some honesty.
The number one priority this government put forward was growth. They said they were going to go for growth. And the one thing that we know that kills growth is higher taxes. Now, we don't know exactly what's going to be in this budget tomorrow, but pretty much the one thing we do know is that it's going to be a collection of higher taxes. If they just want to be an old school redistribution Labor government, just be honest with us and say that. Say it is too hard to go for growth. We need to cut some spending in order to do it. We need to lower taxes, which in the short term would be difficult. Just be honest with us. Cut this whole go for growth thing and just say we're an old school lefty government. That's what I would like.
They're forcing aspirational people out of Britain, aren't they, Jonathan?
They're forcing what? Sorry,
aspirational people out of Britain.
I don't accept that. I think that's a myth that people.
It's a fact.
There are plenty of aspirational people in this country, and there are people setting up businesses all the time. You can make a legitimate argument about whether the taxes that have been so far have been put on people are the right ones, and I would disagree with that. I'm not the Chancellor, and I wouldn't have put on national insurance in that way. But then again, I wouldn't have pledged not to raise the three biggest income-raising taxes before the election, because that was hamstringing them completely unnecessarily when they would have won the election anyway if they'd been honest with people to say, yes, the Tories have run the economy into the ground, run public service into the ground, we'll need to raise taxes. But we do need to raise taxes, and actually, taxes do help growth, because when you get taxes, the government can invest that in infrastructure and in projects which themselves can then build growth.
What's been a really good government investment recently, do you think?
I can't list one of them. Great British Energy. No. I'm talking about there are all kinds of. I mean, HS2, for example, is a classic example of a government subsidised project which is going to bring back a return, and that's why we need to have high-speed rail in this country. We need to have greater connectivity. I think there's an argument for improving airports as well.
Why are we all going to end up probably paying more tax and feel like we're getting less?
That may hypothetically be true, even though it's less efficient than lowering taxes, but we know that that is going towards the £110 billion on interest on debt to keep this ever-growing black hole from becoming a chasm that swallows the economy up. That is why taxes are going up. It's not to fund some great nation-changing infrastructure project. And if it was, we would have heard about it.
Well, it is also to invest in the NHS.
Basic economics goes like this. Should you tax things, you invariably get less of them. That's why you put tax on cigarettes and you put tax on alcohol. So when you put tax on jobs, which Rachel Reeves did, what you end up with is less jobs. Hence, unemployment has gone up every month since Labour has been in office. So the basic bits they didn't understand, and that's why we've got no growth.
Well, Esther, under your government, the public services were run into the ground, and we also had the highest taxes since the Second World War under your party.
That was because of lockdown, which I voted against. Yes, it was.
Because of lockdown.
It fundamentally was lockdown and COVID, and that's where the 400 billion went to.
So I've got a theory about one thing that's going to happen. This is this scrapping of the two-child benefit cap. It's been floated. Apparently, it's just going to basically go. Now, I think they feel as though this is going to be their great saving grace. This is going to be their legacy. And I think that within about a year of them doing that, it's going to emerge who is cashing in most on this two-child benefit cap. And I'm sorry, but I just do not believe that it's going to be people who were, a lot of the time, people who were either born here in Britain or something like that. I can see there being a big issue with this that actually will be a stick to beat them with at the next general election.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. In fact, I think it just creates a greater incentive for more illegal migrants to come to the country, and I don't think it creates enough of an incentive for birth rates to go up in the country for people who were born here in the first place. The better way to incentivise people to have kids is to make cost of living more affordable.
Yeah. I think, as well, it's about 65% of the public who don't want the two-child cap lifted because they see it as a fundamental unfairness that actually what this government will now be is not for growth, it's not for working people. This government is about benefits and benefit people and people not working. And what they should be doing is encouraging people into work, giving them maybe the training they need, the support they need, and getting them into work, particularly young people, which we've just seen skyrocket. 1 million people, young people now, not in work or education. And that will be a scar and an absolute stain on Labour's
Esther, we've seen that
legacy.
The child benefit is scrapping that benefit cap is one of the surest ways, according to many reports, of eliminating or at least reducing child poverty. And whatever you think about parents who are having kids they can't afford, you can make all kinds of arguments about feckless parents or whatever, in that sort of very 1980s language. It's not fundamentally the child's fault. And that's why I actually agree with reform. One of the only things I agree with reform on is that they agree with Labour about scrapping this budget.
How you get people out of poverty and children out of poverty is making sure that a person in the family is in work, and you just don't want workless households. So that's
can walk and chew gum at the same
time. It is the parents, not the child, who need to think about whether they can afford.
But the child is fundamentally losing out.
And can I add, if they're irresponsible parents, why do you think that benefit that now they're going to get is actually going to go back towards the kids?
Because fundamentally, you are seeing that most parents will want to look after their kids.
So let's have
I still believe that as a basic point.
Zoom out a little bit, and from what has been suggested anyway, who knows? She might shock us all. She might stand at the dispatch box tomorrow, cut everyone's taxes, remove stamp duty, all of that stuff. I very much doubt it, though. From what we know, or we think we know, 15 billion quid in welfare increases, and then just looking around at all sorts of different little things that anyone who's got a few quid might be able to pay extra. I mean, do you think that's fundamentally unfair? Because Zach Polanski was outside Parliament today with, I'm assuming, his friends or people who were certainly looked like they were Green voters anyway. Read into that what you will. Who were saying, "Are you going to tax the rich, Rachel? Are you going to tax the rich?" And tonight she's released a picture of herself in number 11 Downing Street with a chessboard next to her, signing off on the budget.
She was a chess champion.
What's chess? Do you just have a chess?
No, I think she exaggerated that one, actually.
Yeah.
The chess champions were the Eagle sisters, not
I think she
her.
came 23rd from memory.
Exactly. Yeah, that was another
Let's do
exaggeration.
that instead.
OK.
So she was not telling the full truth on her CV.
Yeah.
She cried in Parliament, won't tell us exactly what that was for, and obviously we're just not allowed to ask. OK, fine. I think we all know what it was for, actually, because she lost the welfare reforms vote the day before. They U-turned on it. So she was also looking pretty teary at a Labour Party conference. She forgot that she had to get a landlord's licence, which actually Southwark Council just prosecuted somebody else for doing exactly the same thing, but not her.
And a councillor who resigned, a Labour councillor resigned, but she wasn't resigning. Yeah.
But should she be anywhere near this budget?
No, I don't think she's... I think she's woefully inadequate, but unfortunately it's the best that Labour have. They thought she was the best to do that. But no, I don't think she's up to the job. I don't think she's good enough. And as for all this misogyny aimed against her, what a load of rubbish. She came forward and said, "I am the first woman to be Chancellor." She said that. No, it isn't mansplaining. It isn't misogyny. She's a dud at the job. She just isn't good enough.
Yeah, so we're now sexist if we don't like her.
No, obviously that's not true. People can criticise women.
No, that's what she said to the Times.
Well, I think the point she was making, that some of the criticism against her is misogynistic, and I think things like Rachel from Accounts is just a sexist moniker. I think that is sexist. But she's much more qualified for the job than many other chancellors. And Esther, with the greatest respect, I don't think that you should be throwing stones in your glass house, given some of the duds that we've had from your party over the last few years. Well, Liz Truss, sort of Dominic Raab, Nadeem Zahawi, how many days did he last?
You know what I know the difference was? And I didn't vote for Liz Truss, but you know what? When she knew she wasn't good enough, which was after about 44 days... The
party ditched
she
her.
She also went. I'm afraid Rachel Reeves doesn't know when to quit, and she should have quit before she did the first budget.
Will there be a rebellion shortly after the budget tomorrow, do you think? Because there's a few Labour MPs gearing up for it.
May elections, I'm still betting for the challenge to come.
OK. All right, guys, thank you very, very much. Well, the good news is there is some more detail on this budget in tomorrow's newspaper front pages, which I have had a quick look at, so I'll keep you hanging on that one. But, look, you're going to need all the money you can get. So here's 40 grand in tax-free cash, £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket, and a GB News Christmas goodie bag as well. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
There's just 30 days until Christmas, and it's the final week to see how you can enjoy it on us. That's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 fantastic. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family, the tree and decorations. £1,000 in vouchers to buy a slap-up Christmas lunch at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. Plus, we're going to get it all to you in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, not good news for Rachel Reeves on tomorrow's newspaper front pages, but...
Send them back! Send them back! Send them back! Send them back! Send them back!
Is this government deliberately trying to stoke civil unrest? They've decided to plonk more asylum seekers in literally the worst place possible. That's next.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Dubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
Great pleasure of speaking to a veteran, 100 years old, or 100 years young, shall I say, Jim Gettings. Let's take a listen to him. Let me just ask you this, Jim. You're wearing your sash, you're wearing your replacement beret, and I know that that beret was your original one, was something that you had to sell. Your little girl had whooping cough, and you had to sell all of your belongings to help try and pay for her care. You've made it now to the ripe old age of 100 years old. I'm so pleased to see you as well with your beret on. What's your secret to living to 100 years old?
Avoid dying.
Oh. Jim, I was hoping you was going to tell me to drink alcohol every day or something like that. Jim, can I just say, on behalf of the nation, we want to say, GB News, myself, GB News, all of our viewers, we want to say thank you for your service. We are incredibly grateful for men like you and for everything that you did to ensure that we can have the life that we got right now. So thank you.
Well, thank you for listening to me. And God bless everybody, because we're living in very bad times again, aren't we? So God bless. Bye-bye.
Oh, Jim, I mean, that just really touched me. Did you hear that sentence literally there towards the end? Thank you for listening to me. And I've got to say, I find it so important to try and talk to the veterans, to try and listen to that experience. It means so much to them that their experiences, memories and all the rest of it are passed down through the generations as well. What a guy.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Labour is accused of stoking civil unrest with plans to put even more asylum seekers in literally the worst place possible. Epping, the epicentre of this summer's illegal migrant protests. It emerged today that a Home Office contractor is looking to procure 8 flats in Epping to give to asylum seeker families. I mean, they must be mental. This is Epping.
Send them back! Send them back! Send them back! Send them back! Send them back!
Well, an illegal Ethiopian small boat migrant sexually assaulted a schoolgirl before being accidentally released from prison is where they took the government to court, trying to get migrant hotels closed. Not just there, actually, but set a precedent for the entire country. It's where demonstrators marched on the local council building and hoisted the Union Jack.
It looks like the police are trying to cause a scene.
Of all the places in the country, why put more asylum seekers in Epping? Are they trying to stoke civil unrest? Joining us now is former Immigration Minister Kevin Foster. Kevin, thank you very much. Great to see you. Go on there. Why on earth are they doing it there?
I suspect some of this is just desperation. You know, the numbers have been spiralling all year in terms of arrivals at Dover. They need to find pretty much anywhere to try and accommodate people. And this is the reminder we sometimes have to have. When they say we're going to get everyone out of asylum hotels, people think, oh, they're going to get them out of the country. No. What they're looking to do is shift them into other accommodation. Now, we hear some of the talk about larger accommodation sites, but more of that will be sites and housing all across the country. And many people just see this as unfair. Imagine if you're on the housing waiting list in Epping, an area where housing is not cheap, it's close to London, it's in Essex. Imagine you're in this news. That's what's really going to inflame a lot of people.
Well, Epping's really nice. I mean, that part of the world is really nice. Loads of people would love to live there. I'd love to live there. And I think the idea that you're going to end up procuring 8 flats for asylum seeker families, so they say, remains to be seen exactly who would live in there. I mean, it seems to me like this is a disaster waiting to happen. Why are they just, you know, trucking along with it, really?
Well, it probably is. It's already, we've seen the issues there's been with the Bell Hotel there, and particularly with the idea that what was supposed to be a hotel that, you know, you spent the night either on holiday or on business has now become sort of semi-permanent accommodation was bad enough. But I suspect this is desperation. You know, we're seeing the numbers have gone up. They need to try and get people out of hotels, and they're looking for pretty much any option they can find. Is this a good option? No. And it's also likely to be quite an expensive one. You know, as we touched on, Epping's a nice place to live. This is not going to be particularly cheap accommodation. And again, it all goes to this unfairness that, again, people who've come into the country who are looking to game the asylum system are now getting a reward that many working people and many GBNews viewers would love.
We already know that there are massive security concerns at the hotels. I mean, in fact, last night as well, we did quite a big expose actually on RAF Wethersfield base there, things like criminal damage, drug abuse, etc., that's going on there. I would argue there's an even bigger security concern when it comes to houses of multiple occupancy or homes that are within a community. You don't have a security guard standing outside every one of these homes, do you? And I think that could pose a risk for people.
Absolutely. You know, there is issues when just moving people into communities doesn't mean that the problems go away. And actually, and whilst, you know, hotels are a bit of desperation, at least you've got some sort of knowledge of where people are, you've got some staff there monitoring, you've got the Home Office monitoring. But you see some issues already at places like Wethersfield. And also, you know, this deals with all the nonsense about them all being doctors, lawyers and engineers. You know, they're not. They're mostly people looking to game a system who've already paid a criminal gang to bring them into the country. And it's no wonder people are concerned. I want to see action on this.
See, there are parts of the country that do vote in large numbers for parties that think that basically we shouldn't have any borders or that we should, you know, refugees are always welcome and everything. Why don't they just put them all there?
Well, it's been interesting to see the reaction from the deputy of the Green Party to the idea that quite a lot of asylum seekers should suddenly be accommodated in her area. In the council, she's deputy leader of. Strangely, she hasn't been hanging out the flags of all nations to welcome them. In fact, she's been objecting. It's been almost comical to listen to. But you've actually hit a bit of a nail on the head there, Patrick. A lot of people who vote for sort of open borders policies, you know, I can remember when I was in the Home Office, 31 out of 32 council areas in Scotland refused to be part of the asylum accommodation system.
Really?
Whilst at the same time, lots of SNP MPs were demanding we were being more welcoming. The only exception was Glasgow. So often you see...
Well, which is now, by the way, having huge issues because Glasgow is saying that they are full.
Yeah.
They can't take any more this.
Yeah, I can remember your feature on that. Absolutely hitting the nail on the head with the fact all the objections to immigration enforcement work, anything we wanted to do around trying to deal with issues of people coming into the country unlawfully. It was all terrible. Now they're full. They've seen the impact and they don't like it and they don't want it to happen in their area. So, you know, there is that issue that people, you know, sometimes are happy to vote for certain policies as long as the impact is somewhere else. But for Labour, the problem with this issue is a lot of hotels are in London, the South East, a lot of the accommodation in communities that are likely to move people into is all across those red wall seats where they're already in a lot of trouble, particularly being challenged by reform. You know, this is politically toxic for them. And it's why we've now suddenly seen the change of rhetoric, particularly from Shabana Mahmood, about realising that actually Labour's got to deal with this.
I just worry about where we go from here, really. I mean, the people of Epping, broadly speaking, couldn't have been any clearer. You've had what's going on at the Bella Hotel, you've had, you know, marches on council buildings, there was that actual court case, which in no small part was designed to try to set a precedent across the rest of the country as well when it came to migrant hotels and whether or not really it was legal to put asylum seekers in those communities there. I think what this sends out is a message that no matter what you do, this particular government doesn't care about that. It doesn't care about it. And my concern is what that stokes going forward. Because if people feel completely and utterly helpless, they feel as though they've done everything legally within their powers, they've made their voices so clear, and they've been downtrodden every single time. My concern is that then could breed something that maybe you would actually class as genuine extremism.
Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. This is why it's important that politicians who are in Parliament currently come up with solutions. And, you know, if Labour does want to do something about winning the next general election, they don't seem to be doing too much about it with the budget coming tomorrow. But if they do want a path to win the election, they've got to get the national conversation off immigration. That means they've got to deal with the boats issue. Or else, yeah, as you say, other forces will move in if reasonable politicians, including Reform, are not seen as able to deliver what people want.
Can I just ask, sorry, finally, I'm really fascinated by your time when you were Immigration Minister. So when you were approaching these various different councils in Scotland, or these areas in Scotland, saying, you know, we want to house some asylum seekers there or whatever, and were they just saying no? And at the same time, there are members of Scottish Parliament, all their MPs in Westminster were hammering you and your party for saying that you wanted to be tough on immigration, although obviously perhaps weren't as tough as you should be. But yeah.
Well, I'd have liked to have gone further. That's a discussion we never done. But yeah, I can remember one debate where Jonathan Gullis, who was representing Stoke-on-Trent, which was part of the accommodation system, he'd been talking about the impacts of it and the need to try and mitigate that and stop putting even more into Stoke-on-Trent, was being attacked by SNP MPs who literally, their areas had said no and weren't taking part at all. So, yeah, there has been a lot of hypocrisy from those who are keen to see open borders and refugees welcome here, just not here,
just
here
over
where
there.
I live. Yeah, just
over
somewhere
there.
else. Somewhere else.
No, brilliant. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Great to see you. It's Kevin Foster there, who is the former Immigration Minister. We did contact the Home Office. We're awaiting a response. But a Home Office spokesperson previously said, we are furious at the level of illegal immigration and asylum hotels in this country. It is why work is underway to move asylum seekers into more suitable accommodation, such as military bases, to ease pressure on communities across the country. Public safety remains our first priority. We're working closely with local authorities, property partners and the local community as we transition away from hotels. Right, something a little bit different now, a bit more light-hearted, a bit more joyous. This Christmas, we are putting on a really exciting event, and we would love you to be there too. On Saturday, 13th of December, you are invited to join the GB News family for our Carols by Candlelight concert. For your chance to be with us, you can just apply for tickets by scanning that QR code on your screen right now, or go to gbnews.com/carols. The concert will be recorded and broadcast on Christmas Eve. But up next, we have got all of the front pages, and according to the Metro, I see what they've done here. They've coined a phrase, Skinter is coming. Find out what that's all about next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, we've got some wet weather pushing through the Mediterranean this week. It should turn drier by the time we get to the weekend, however. In the Canary Islands, it's looking relatively dry, highs around 19 degrees. A little bit cooler towards Lisbon, 11 or 12 degrees. Now, here's that wet weather I mentioned. It's moving across parts of Italy, Slovenia, as well as Croatia, and into Greece later on this week. But parts of Italy, as well as Croatia, should get drier by Friday or Saturday, with temperatures remaining a little below average. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's clear and frosty for many of us overnight, but turning increasingly cloudy from the west as a band of rain starts to slowly move in from the Atlantic. These Atlantic fronts eventually replacing the cold air that we've got in place, but not before a ridge of high pressure extends clear skies across many parts of the country. Even the showers in the east fade away overnight, but there will be some showers in the west of Scotland and increasing cloud across much of western Scotland and Northern Ireland, West Wales and the far southwest by the end of the night. Frost-free here as temperatures rise through the night, but elsewhere a widespread frost, temperatures dipping as low as -6 Celsius in some sheltered spots. Now, a chilly start for many central and eastern parts of Scotland first thing Wednesday. Much milder to the west, although wetter here with outbreaks of rain and a freshening breeze. We've got some heavy and persistent rain just moving into Northern Ireland at this stage in the morning. Wales and the southwest turning cloudy but mostly dry to kick things off, whilst the Midlands, the east and the southeast of England see plenty of sunshine from the word go, albeit with the chilly start. And actually temperatures rising reasonably nicely in the southeast as we keep the sunshine into the afternoon along with light winds. A fresher breeze further west, winds really picking up across exposed western and northern coasts along with this band of rain, so a wet and breezy spell expected. That rain then eventually sweeps through on Thursday morning, and then it's a cloudy day on Thursday, and the one thing to note about Thursday's weather is it's going to be very mild. The winds coming from the southwest, lifting temperatures back up into the double figures widely and in some places the teens. A cooler spell once again returns this weekend, but with some unsettled weather.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Let's give you a first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages. The Independent. US and Ukraine agree essence of new peace deal. Zelensky's ready to move forward with European plan. There we go. Let's go to the Daily Express. Now Calamity Lammy wants to axe jury trials. Abolishing jury trials would destroy the justice system. We might come back to that. You've not discussed that with the panel yet. Also, apparently, he's going to remove your automatic right to appeal. So great stuff. The Telegraph go with the same story. Jury trials scrapped for most crimes. They've also got dirty dozen tax rises to hit middle-class families. Rachel Reeves using what appears to be a nit comb, but I've only got a black and white copy of the paper, so I can't really tell what that is. Britain ready to put boots on the ground in Ukraine peace deal as well. The Metro, Skinter is coming. There we are. Booze, sugar, nights away, and even your latte coffee to go up with millions paying more. No, actually, it's quite a devastating bulletin, that, isn't it? Booze, sugar, nights away, and even your latte coffee is going to go up.
Great people had lattes.
Avocados. That's young people who can't afford to buy a house. The iPaper. Moment of truth for Reeves and UK economy. And I'll go through their bullet points. 8.5% pay rise for people aged 18 to 20 on minimum wage. Food prices likely to grow after budget taxes, despite promises to help on the cost of living. I mean, there's all sorts, isn't it, there, really? One thing we haven't spoken about as a panel yet is this scrapping of jury trials. Has anyone got particularly strong views on the scrapping of jury trials? You know, if you went there and you were charged with mean tweets, then, you know, you could end up with potentially just a left-wing judge to answer.
A left-wing judge as opposed to a left-wing jury. Look, I think that what we have to identify the cause of this, which is that under the Conservatives, there was a huge package of austerity, as we know, huge cuts to the Ministry of Justice, I think £1 billion, multiple courtrooms, courthouses shut in the country, and there's now an unprecedented backlog.
But the point is that David Lammy, when he was in opposition, said that courtrooms should be open 24/7.
Right.
And we should be really happy.
Okay,
and he also said that juries were a fundamental part of our...
But I think that you can also... The circumstances can also change. You had this review by Brian Levison, who was the Levison report a few years ago, and he said that he recommended in that report scrapping jury trials for all but the most serious cases.
However, but he said that it should be a judge and 2 magistrates, and only for cases where you could only be sentenced to 3 years in prison. Now, it's just a judge, and he can still bang you up for 5 years, or she.
Yeah, it's a fundamental part of any developed Western legal system. Look, we can all agree that the Conservatives created a backlog when it came to criminal trials, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that this is necessarily the answer. There are several other things you can do to solve this problem. Changing the fundamental way in which justice is handed out is not the answer.
This guy, though, David Lammy, doesn't seem to know who's in prison and who's out of it. Forgets to wear his poppy at times as well, can't notice a police officer when there's one standing right behind him. And now he's in charge of the biggest shake-up to our justice system ever.
And this really links into the new sentencing bill that Labour are bringing through at the moment, which is a disgrace, which is going to stop thousands of people being sent to prison if it's for a sentence less than 12 months, and also letting people out of prison. So it's interesting that it here now says magistrates' powers are also going to be increased by extending their remit from offences carrying a maximum sentence of 1 year to 2. So what we are basically saying is there's going to be fewer and fewer people sent to prison, which is what the bill's about. So they're not going to have juries. It's going to basically be churning through the system, and they will not be going to prison. That's what it's doing, because you have a minister for prisons who thinks that 2/3 of prisoners shouldn't be in prison. So that's all this is about. This is a con.
But to add to that, wouldn't it just be nice to have a politician that had some beliefs and conviction? Like Lammy, in the last, I think, 4 years, how old is that tweet that we pulled up? 3 or 4 years old?
Yeah.
A few years old. Argued against this in the strongest possible terms, and now he's implementing this. It would just be nice if we had politicians who believed things.
I think that people can also change their mind about things. People can also change their mind about things.
Yeah, they can, but this is just stopping people going to prison, and we need more people going to prison who've committed a crime for the punishment
we know that
they
people
deserve.
who go very short prison sentences are often counterproductive. You know this, and there are huge rates of recidivism as well.
Just quickly, whilst we've got the Daily Express on the screen, the other story they've gone for there is Graham Linehan. I'm proud to have stood up to the trans bullies. There's a picture of you just, not across it today. Graham Linehan was basically found not guilty of harassing a trans activist. It's a good result of common sense with it.
Yeah, and another one which shouldn't have been anywhere near a courtroom. This is the other problem with the justice system, is part of the backlog is that there is free speech crimes which are being policed, which should never be policed, which add to that backlog in the first place. It doesn't just start with what we've been talking about. There needs to be a fundamental rethink of how we look at justice.
This wasn't about the tweets. This was about the alleged harassment of a person.
Which it was about both.
Included social media.
Fine, but this isn't the police arresting you for a mean tweet. This is about sort of targeted harassment.
Well, there are 30.
He was arrested coming off the plane.
I know, and I disagreed with that.
And there are 30 of those every single day as well.
And I think that in the main, as I've said repeatedly, I think there should be a very high bar for prosecuting speech offences.
OK, all right, I'm just scanning through my auto key here, and I'm seeing one of the newspapers that we haven't given you yet, which we will do in the next section, and I think you're going to want to see this. The Daily Mail goes, Reeves faces chorus of condemnation for pricing young people out of work. And there's a really fascinating line. We're going to talk about this when we come back. There is a really fascinating line on one of the papers, which is like, welcome to reality, right, OK? Which is, two-child benefit cap is expected to be scrapped in full, but it's also sparking a political argument about workers picking up the £3 billion bill. Yes, of course it is, absolutely. But, hey, we can have all of these kind of discussions in person tomorrow, you lucky people. On Wednesday the 26th of November, that's tomorrow, you can join me in this studio for a budget special. If you want to be in my audience, go to sro.co.uk and get your ticket.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates,
lively conversation,
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
and each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breast cancer is the most common cancer in the UK, and over a lifetime, 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer. It's mostly affecting women over 50. As you mentioned before, it does affect a small proportion of men, less than 1%, but still there is a potential risk. The good news is, if caught early, survival is excellent due to improved treatments and new drugs. So 99% of women and men survive for more than 5 years if caught early. And overall, the breast cancer survival rate is about 85%, which is fantastic. It's important to know that you have to check. Women have to learn to check their breasts. So if you notice anything different, dimpling, change in shape, a lump, go and get it checked out. Even though survival rates are much improved, we do have less survival here compared to other countries. So, for example, in America, 90% of women will survive over 10 years if they're with breast cancer. So it is important to get checked out just as soon as you notice any changes whatsoever.
Why is there that difference, Lucy, between, say, us and America, for example?
Well, the UK lags behind generally in cancer survival, 10 to 25 years, they estimate, over a range of cancers. That includes prostate, ovarian, lung, breast, and bowel cancer. And there could be a number of reasons, but I think part of the problem, the NHS, is great when you get to the front of the queue, isn't it? But it's actually getting there.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's economy is at a crossroads.
And this budget day, every decision counts.
From taxes and rent to the cost of living.
Whatever the outcome, the GB News family will be there.
With expert analysis breaking down what it means for you.
Budget day all day tomorrow.
Only here on the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Wow, here's the rest of tomorrow's front pages. The Sun, Rachel Reeves' budget ledger, taxes on work, pensions, houses, taxis, milkshakes, hotel stays, and having fun, all up. Wow. The Daily Mail, Reeves faces chorus of condemnation for pricing young people out of work. Bosses say 8.5% minimum wage hike for 18 to 20s is bonkers. We'll probably talk about that actually. The Times, Reeves aims at workers, savers and pensioners. Right, OK. They go for the Daily Mirror. Help is at hand. Oh, interesting, isn't it? Oh, lovely. Chancellor tells Mirror there will be wage rises for millions of low-paid workers. The Guardian, who has to pay those? Well, anyway, The Guardian, Reeves vows to tackle cost of living crisis in decisive budget for Labour. If we take that Daily Mail front page there, then. So, raising the minimum wage for 18 to 20s, is that not just going to mean that bars, restaurants, etc., maybe even some shops are just not going to employ 18 to 20-year-olds, do you think?
Well, I just love the way she's talking about she's raising the minimum wage. No, you're not, Rachel. It's the employees who are doing this. And they've all said, after you kicked us in the nuts, quite frankly, with the raise in national insurance contribution for employers, we can't afford this on top. So all that is happening is they won't be employing anybody. And that's what's happening. That's why youth unemployment is going through the roof under this Labour government.
Or they'll sack other people to make room for them.
Yeah, or they just won't employ them. And it was a combination of the allowance level as well for the nick that's double hit on people.
I've got a question for everyone. I've been looking at all of these front pages and I've been seeing everything from milkshake taxes to taxes on mansions to taxes on whatever you can think of.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen a single spending cut being pledged? single one?
Not doing that. No, she's not doing that.
She tried to, but they wouldn't let her.
She was cutting
why she
benefits
cried.
by 5 billion, and she ended up spending 15 billion.
It's extraordinary.
Well,
It is
Jonathan,
absolutely extraordinary.
you pleased with the mass unemployment that's about to follow tomorrow's budget?
Well, it's already happened.
I'm delighted, Patrick.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll be great. I have great faith in Rachel, and I think that she's...
Not even you believe what you're saying. You can't even keep a straight face.
Okay, fine.
Well, quickly.
Getting serious now,
what you had with the freezing of the thresholds. Now that is, I think that's probably for the best. That's something that your Chancellor Jeremy Hunt did, by the way. So she's simply continuing a Tory
she's
policy.
Extending it
and things like the tourist tax. That is absolutely normal across Europe. If you go to Italy, France, Spain,
Do they
Germany,
pay it? Do the Germans pay it? If the Germans
people
go from Berlin
if you stay in a hotel, you will pay that tax.
Why should we? Yeah, okay,
and that will go, and that normally goes back into tourist infrastructure. That goes back to the city council. I don't think it goes into central government, but it's a completely normal thing to do, and actually a lot of people welcome it. I think you pay like £2 or £3 a night to go and stay in a hotel.
Absolutely affronted that I would have to pay tax.
And the milkshake thing, it's just Does your milkshake bring all the boys to the yard?
Oh, hello.
Does it?
It does. Yes, it does bring.
Well, even after a bit of tax extra.
Oh, OK, all right. I don't know what we're going with that, but anyway, right. I just wanted to bring you another story that it doesn't involve my milkshake, or I think what you're alluding to is a certain part of my anatomy. The Telegraph is reporting the Royal Kennel Club, which runs Crufts. Oh, it's interesting news for dog lovers. Will admit mongrels and rescue dogs for the first time in its 150-year history. The show will also launch an online platform in February next year, available to all dog owners across the country, with pre-registration opening on Tuesday. Well, critics say the move undermines decades of pedigree standards, while supporters argue that it will boost adoption rates. Alongside the launch of its new online platform will be the UK's biggest ever dog census, which is expected to boost research into dog welfare and owner well-being. And finally, gathering nationwide data from all dog owners. Finally! Oh, I've been calling for it for years. So there you have it. Oh. Even Crufts has gone full-on dog DEI.
You took my line.
DEI for dogs.
You must be in favour of dog DEI, Jonathan, surely.
I think that all dogs should be equal. Dogs should have a chance. All dogs should have a chance to shine, just like all people.
Yeah. But it's interesting, though. I mean, I'll hold my hands up with this. I always prefer... Whenever we've had dogs, I've always gone and got rescue dogs, and aside from the fact I think it's nice to save a dog, they also tend to live longer as well than a lot of pedigrees, because they've been bred to oblivion, haven't they, some of them? Sorry to anyone who's got a pedigree dog, I'm sure they're lovely. But, I don't know, I'm kind of in favour of this. But I think what this means is that instead of, like, the Tibetan Mastiff or whatever it is that comes out and wins, you could just end up with, like...
It is symbolic of what is going on in our society.
They deserve it.
It is symbolic.
It
is symbolic of everything going on in our society, from the best of the best being prioritised to just give everyone a go.
Or is it just because everybody's now got a something-a-poo? So they've got a cockapoo or they've got a whatever, and because they've bred them and people really like those dogs and they're very good, right? And you've got, what else have you got? You've got jugs, haven't you?
Well, I thought that fair go was meant to be like an Australian mantra.
Jack Russell with a pug is a jug.
Really?
Just in case you wondered where I was going. But what I meant is there's so many of these now and everybody loves them. But I blame the poos, the cockapoos.
OK. Well, we can return to this. Later. We are out of time here. Before Esther starts rattling off more dog breeds that may or may not exist. Anyway, but we have more newspapers when we come back.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's clear and frosty for many of us overnight, but turning increasingly cloudy from the west as a band of rain starts to slowly move in from the Atlantic. These Atlantic fronts eventually replacing the cold air that we've got in place, but not before a ridge of high pressure